My name is Kate. I'm a wedding portrait photographer, and I hope you've seen the last few videos. I showed you how I set up my home studio, how I photograph self-portraits in that home studio. Also, my latest video was all about culling and actually choosing those favorite images and keeping that super simple for you. And today I'm going to talk you through everything I'm doing for editing some of the I think it was 21 photos that we favorited in the last video. I'm just going to show you exactly what I'm doing. I'm open book, so if you have any questions, pop in the comments below and ask away, and I will get to those as soon as I can. If there's something you want me to elaborate on, I'm more than happy to. I'm going to show more editing in future videos, but I thought I would just kind of give you a deep dive into kind of how I create my finished looks. So the first thing we're going to do is load up all of our images into Lightroom, and I'm going to show you how I do that. The first thing I always do when I open a new gallery for editing, I always go up to the top and I go new catalog. A catalog is where you save all of your images, and I used to have one catalog that saved all of my images, and I got up to, I think, having 14,000 images in there, and it was overwhelming, and I lost them. I couldn't find them because I didn't have them organized by folders. So this is something I started implementing a few years ago, and it was a complete game changer, and I'll tell you a little bit more about why. So the first thing I do is I go new catalog. I'm going to find my folder that I want to save them into. We're going to go into my self-portraits and into the folder that I just made, and I'm going to save it with the same name that I saved my folder as. So if this is my shoot 5 from this year, and I'm going to, so March 3rd, and it's going to be my Lightroom backup. That way then, when that's saved, I will open a new one and I'll show you what I'm going to see in that folder. So you can see here that I have a Lightroom backup folder. In the same folder that I have all of my RAWs, I'm going to have all of my exports, all of my videos, everything. So it's all in one place. As soon as I've completed my full gallery, I export everything saved in that folder. That entire folder is then going to go on my next hard drive. So this is then my completed hard drive that I then have everything on multiple hard drives, but this is like my money one. So I get a new one of these every single year. So 2022, 2023, every single year has its own hard drive, so that I always have those images. Sometimes I like going back and re-editing images if they are sort of some of my favorites and my editing styles maybe tweaked a little bit. So from here, you're gonna go into your library. I like to do the shortcut G, and then you're gonna pop down at the bottom here and you're gonna say import. I always like to do build smart previews as when I import, because it doesn't bring in the full RAW, so you're not bogging down your system. It just keeps it so that it's just kind of a preview of your image that you're getting there. So I'm gonna find my folder and I'm gonna go all RAWs because everything's all super organized. And these are all the favorite images that I selected with you in my last video. I'm gonna click import. Once they've imported, I'm gonna select them all and I'm gonna put them over here in a collection, and it's just gonna say all RAWs. That way then, if down the road you send a client their full gallery of previews and they can select their favorites, you can take just their favorites, put them in another catalog. So it keeps organizing, keeps things so much more simple. So then I'm gonna pop into my develop module, and that is shortcut D if you choose. I'm gonna go Control D, and that will deselect everything. I'm gonna go to my first image, and this is where I try to find a preset that's gonna work for everything. So that's when I'm gonna come over into my presets here, and these are kind of my go-to. These are my tweaked ones. Obviously I have a lot of purchased ones as well, but this is where, I like that. I'm gonna go to my portrait one, and I know that all the lighting situation is going to be the same or similar for most of the ones on my dark screen. So I'm gonna hit Shift, and I'm gonna then select that entire row of images, and I'm gonna hit Sync. I'm gonna keep all of these checked because I think they're all gonna be very similar. And I'm gonna say synchronize. That's gonna then sync every single one of those photos that I've selected, all with the same edits, which is really, really time consuming if you don't, which I really like. But then it also keeps sort of a baseline for how I'm gonna edit to keep them all very continuous, but I can make tweaks all the way through without those tweaks just escalating as we go. And now I'm gonna bring in my loop deck. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of this. This is my little, apparently I need to start dusting more. It's my editing board, my editing keyboard. It's a loop deck. It is a game changer. It's a time saver. It's so amazing. All these little dials, I have control of exposure, my temperature, everything like that. My saturation, this is all my HSL panel. I think it was like $300. I will take a look. I'll put a link below for you. I purchased this a couple years ago. I was not sure I wanted to spend that much money on an editing board. Some people prefer to send out their editing, saving a lot of their time. I like putting out my art. I like knowing that it is all mine. Otherwise, I tried it for a couple sessions and I just ended up going through and changing all their stuff anyway. So it's a huge time saver, which is really nice. So in here, I'm gonna rotate this because I like my eyes on these crosshairs. It's really nice just positioning in the way of composition. I actually quite like that exactly how it is. So I'm gonna skip over to the next one. And you know what? I think it's probably gonna have a similar crop. So I'm just gonna hit previous. There we go. What I don't like right now is how my shot is getting all lost in those shadows. So I'm gonna try bringing up those shadows, but I think it's kind of maxed. So I'm gonna do a spot here. So I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna select the brush tool. And then I'm just gonna select the sweater slightly here. And I'm just going to boost that exposure slightly just so it's not completely lost in the shadows, and it gives a little bit more shape. So I'm gonna go like before and after here. So it was just kind of lost a little bit. Other than that, I think that looks okay. This one, same thing, it is pretty dark right there. I'm gonna maybe pop in here and same thing, just lighten up that shot. Apparently black was not my good choice for the day, and that's okay. I'm gonna maybe just change those shadows. That way then I'm getting a little bit of the highlight here on that shoulder, on the arm. That way it's not getting lost. And I do like the composition of this because if I go into the eyes are just about on that board there anyway, so I could maybe tweak that down a little bit. That's my preference, that's how I like it. And typically if a subject is facing this way, I will have most of the distance here instead of behind. I'll show you a few more in another few video pictures here. This one, I actually kind of like the moodiness of this. I might actually turn that to black and white. So I'm gonna go over here to one of my other ones. Oh, not that one, this one. I have too many presets, too many edits. Where's my black and white? Ah, there's my black and white. I kind of like that. I'm just gonna make sure, and I'm gonna bring my clarity down. My freckles are showing a little too much. So I'm gonna bring that down a little bit. And I think I like that right there. Same here, that one's okay. Next time I'm not wearing black, it's just a little too much. That one, I kind of like that, but I'm gonna bring it, like the focal point is here. I feel like it's maybe getting a little bit lost because this hand is taking up so much of that space. So I'm gonna bring that, actually, you know what? I might make that horizontal. So then we can really kind of crop in, and this, I kind of like that there's no real specific focal point on this. It's just a little bit, I don't know, whimsical, I suppose. So I'm gonna lower that exposure a little bit. This one's just a little bit too bright, so I'm gonna bring that down. Other than that, I like that. Same here, I'm just gonna go previous because I like what we did on the last one, and then I can work on tweaking it from there. Again, too much arm in there, so I'm gonna perhaps just change that down here. Kind of like that a little bit more. I think the hand's a little bit too bright, so I'm actually gonna come in here, I'm gonna grab a brush, and I am just going to very roughly just bring that down a hair, just so it's not the focal point. But as soon as you bring that down, it starts changing the color, so I'm gonna add a bit of warmth there. That way then it makes it not too much of in your face. Here's my hand. I actually quite like that as it is. I don't think I'm gonna make any changes to that. That one, a little bit bright on the face. That one's good. I'm gonna come in, I'm actually gonna brighten up this camera a little bit, just so it's a little bit more prominent, because this might make a good cover photo at some point. There we go. I like the difference there, so it's not getting a little bit lost. Ooh, again, this is slightly overexposed, and that's okay. We'll tweak that there. And I'm actually gonna bring the reds down slightly. I feel like there's just a little bit too pink. It's my skin tone. I like that. And then because I've changed it from this black, which was nicely exposed, to the white, it was a little too exposed. So I'm gonna go previous again, and I like that. I'm gonna skip over to the next one. I can go previous again. And that now, I like this exposure. I don't like that my eye's getting lost a little bit here. So I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna brush that. I'm gonna bring that brush a little bit smaller. And I'm just gonna brighten up over here a little bit, just so it's not getting lost. And you know what? Since we're here, I'm gonna zoom in on that. Ooh, yeah, that skin tone's lovely. And I'm gonna create another brush, and I'm just gonna soften the skin just a little bit here. I don't like doing too much, but a little bit's always nicely flattering. So I'm gonna bring down that clarity a little bit, and I'm gonna bring down that texture a little bit. And I think that's good. Pop back out, and I'll show you the difference here. It just softens it, Makes you feel like you don't need to go wash your face. Okay, now this is a different lighting setup, so I'm gonna have a different edit on here. So I'm gonna go back over to my sort of my go-to portraits. Well, let's try this one. This is a nice one actually here. Kind of a bit of a crazy look in there, but you know. Can't do much about our subject in this one. So this is the same edit, different lighting. So this one was slightly overexposed, this was slightly underexposed. So let's see the difference, how if now I overexpose it in post, comparing it to slightly overexposed in. There's not that much of a difference between the two. I'm not sure I like the skin tone in this one, because as soon as you increase the exposure of something that's slightly underexposed, the skin tone is just never as nice as if it was just exposed correctly when you're actually taking the photograph. So this was overexposed. It's a little too much perhaps, but I do prefer it over this. So I think I'm actually gonna skip this. So I'm gonna just right click here. I'm gonna go remove from collection. It's not a keeper. I probably won't ever use it. So we're just gonna pop that right out. So I'm gonna go back to the one that has the edit that I do like. I'm gonna skip over here and see how it works with this, which I thought was nicely exposed when I took the photograph. So I'm gonna bump that exposure up because this one was overexposed. This one is now accurately exposed, but I did like the edits and the colors of that. So this is a nice balance here. And then again, I'm gonna hit shift, select all those images because they're all very similar. I'm gonna sync those before I make any changes, make sure that they're all gonna be consistent baseline, and then I can tweak as we go. This one, I like that. Composition wise, you see how the eyes are just a little bit high and there's just a little bit too much of the body there. So I'm gonna tweak this so that then it's just a little bit more of a flattering position. So I could have it in the middle and that, it looks okay. Or I like slightly off center. I feel like it gives a little bit more interest, and for whatever situation, I think that looks okay. And you could then actually use it as a vertical image too, if you needed to. This one's fun. I'm gonna lower that exposure a little bit. I'm gonna bring that pink down slightly because I don't like my pink skin tone, or my freckles for that matter, but you know, we can't change. That one, I like that. It's different. It's creative. It's fun. It's just something a little unique about it. Not sure where I'll use it. This one's fun. I really like, so I'm gonna do the same composition again because I want that eye as that focal point. So I'm gonna bring that right down close to here. And if you zoom in, you can see that eye is really crisp, which I really like that. And it's a very prominent focal point. So I'm gonna make sure that that is good. I like that edit. Again, it's just pink. Why am I pink? Let's try my tint. Yeah, okay, so I brought my tint down just slightly and that's enough to balance that right out again. Yep, much nicer. Freckles. Okay, let's try this. I'm gonna bring that pink down again. Don't want to do too much and just work with what we got. I'm gonna go previous because I did like that. Now I can actually see my lights slightly here. So I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna do a spot removal. I'm gonna make that a little bit bigger with a reasonable feather. Select that. Thank you, Lightroom. There we go. Make that here and pop another one here. Ooh, look at that. It's nice and clean. Before and after. Love it. I don't like the composition too much because I don't know why I don't like that. Something I didn't like about it. Oh my God, I'm getting interrupted anywhere. Everywhere. There, I like that. So my eye is just, okay, really? We're just gonna ignore her. Let's try this. So because I did my spot removal and I liked this, I'm gonna pop over this one and now I'm gonna use the previous from that because, okay, typically it would copy a little bit differently from that. So clearly it's not gonna work. I'm just gonna select in here and just shift that over and that is good there. I want a little less, so I'm gonna change that rotation. I want my eyes a little bit closer to that top so we don't have so much wasted sort of white space, if you will. So it goes from this to this. Let's see if we have the before and after. I do like the colors, I like the tones. It looks really good. So now that that's all completely edited, I'm gonna pop this over here, bring my keyboard back. And now I'm gonna select all. I'm happy with those. Say I'm done my completion. So I'm gonna then right click, and sorry, select all is just Control A. And then I'm gonna select all and I'm gonna go export. Once I'm in here, these are my quick settings I will go through for you. And I can go through this again in another video for you. So I'm gonna say the same thing. I'm finding the exact same folder that I just saved everything else in. Everything from this gallery is all going in here. I'm gonna go low resolution, and I'll show you why. I always export low resolution and high resolution photographs for every single gallery I do. I'm gonna rename it here. I'm just gonna say Kate Patterson, photography, bokeh biz, self-portraits. And then because I've done the low resolution gallery in my folder, I'm gonna write LR. That's my low resolution. And then I pop down here to my image sizing, and I'm gonna make sure this is checked because this is the setting that I have. This is my low resolution images. This will be used for social media, for websites, for such like that, basically online marketing. And I always like having that folder. Other than that, I don't really change too many settings in here. And then I'm gonna go export. And then while that's exporting, I'm gonna actually export another folder. And that is going to go back here. I'm gonna go back into the same folder as original. I'm gonna go high resolution this time. And I'm gonna change this in here, go to the end and go high resolution. And I'm gonna uncheck this. So this is now exporting 100% quality, full size image, and I'm gonna export that also. While that's exporting, the reason I do that is for weddings especially, everyone wants to have control. Some people want to put photos on their walls. Maybe they want to do a huge mural on the wall. But if you give them full resolution images, then they have the ability to be able to do that, as well as any kind of printing. They have a choice. I always have a high resolution. Doesn't matter what I'm doing with them. I always have one of both. Once this is done, I'm going to go back into this folder, double check that I've got everything exported properly. All looks good to me. I've still got my low res, I got my Lightroom backup, got my high resolution, wonderful. So then I'm going to go back here. I'm going to select that folder. I'm going to grab my next hard drive. I'm going to load that entire sucker onto here. And then I'm going to, typically if it was a gallery that I am sending to a client, then I'm going to load that up into Pixieset. That's something I can show on another video if you like. But I love that online platform. It's a great gallery. It's a way of them purchasing images, a way of them downloading and having control of having their images there. Once I'm done that, I am complete. I'm done. I have all of my RAWs on this. I have all of my completed gallery on here. I also have my completed gallery on my computer that is automatically updating to Backblaze all the time for me, so that I have it in so many different locations. And until this gallery is actually delivered to my client, I also have on my 2 SD cards, which I would save and put those. Ooh. I would save these in my little dollar store little box. Just keeps it super organized, labeled and everything like that, so that I know that I've got backup after backup after backup. And then once it's delivered, I don't have to worry as much. I do still keep them on my hard drives because I like to have them. I like to know that if my client comes to me in a year and says, you know what, I really wanted to print these pictures and I can't seem to find something, I always have them on hand and I can get them to them. So I really hope you love this process and talk to you a little bit through about ideas on how to edit, and you've taken something away from it that you can use in your system. Check back for in a few days. I will have another video. I don't remember the day of the week today, let alone what I'm going to be posting after this. So take a look. It'll be something helpful for you.